Iva Foschia. Welcome to the podcast, First Light Podcast. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, James.
Oh, my pleasure. Iva, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then about your journey with IF and how you started?
Yeah, absolutely. So IF Architecture, interior and architecture studio, studied architecture, and in fact most of the team have all studied architecture, but we've had a mix in the team as well. We'd work on residential, hospitality, commercial, retail projects. Internationally, if that was going to happen, we'd love to.
Okay,
but also,
not yet, but
no, not
on
yet,
the cards,
but
yeah.
why not?
Good.
And nationally, we're based in Collingwood.
Fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit about before IF and how that came about, and maybe when you started and what was the inspo to do your own?
Start?
Yeah.
So I studied at RMIT and I'd worked for some bigger practices in Melbourne. And then I was working with a startup called Projects of Imagination, who actually have done some amazing sort of hospitality work. And along the way then, I loved doing that work, but never really thought that I would start my own practice. And then the opportunity came along and a good friend of mine said, what's holding you back? Why don't you have a go? And in fact had a construction company and had some office space. And he even said, I'll give you that office space and you can, if it doesn't work out, you can always go and get a job. And I thought, fork in the road kind of moment. And I thought, why not? I've got this opportunity. I can give it a try. I've already got the project there. I didn't have to sort of look for work. The project was there, an office space was there, and I thought I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
And here we are, 16 years later.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit, just the universe.
Sure.
I hadn't really thought that in fact, actually, when I was at uni, there was probably a lot of other students who expressed that they would start their own practice after graduating straight away. And I thought, I don't know if that's for me. And then, yes, here I am.
You are.
And so I don't think I could do it any other way now.
Sure. Yeah.
But, life takes you in a funny direction. And, yeah, so when I started, it was me. It took maybe a year or so before getting some help with a bigger project. And the growth has been organic, a lot of word of mouth, one client to another client, which has been amazing. And yeah, we've consistently grown sort of since then.
Yeah, that's amazing. And word of mouth is amazing, right? Because it's, especially with what you do, because it's, a lot of things that you can't control, in the project.
Exactly.
So having that be a success and keep going from day one is a great achievement.
Yeah, like what more can you really ask for that someone's willing to say, yes, I had a good experience working with IF Architecture. I'd recommend them to you. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, touch wood.
I don't think you're going anywhere. So what first drew you to architecture? What was the passion?
Yeah, I didn't know sort of at the time. Looking back, I used to draw a lot of things and take things out of the home magazines and the newspaper and redraw that. But I didn't really think anything of that. And, our subjects at high school aren't really, it's art or communications. It's not really architecture or interiors. So I didn't really think of it as a career option. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I went to Monash. I started and completed an arts degree, but in that I saw visual arts, architectural history, and I signed up for those classes, and it was that sort of made me think, there's something, it unlocked something in me.
You're drawn to that, and
you
enjoy doing it, and
And then I thought, well, what will I do at the end of this arts degree? What will I be? And I thought, well, maybe I'll apply for architecture and I'll see if I get in. And I got in at RMIT, and 5 years later, I walked out with a degree in architecture and went looking for my first job. But really along the way, it was there, but it wasn't clear.
Sure.
And I didn't really know what the pathway would be. It wasn't a clear pathway. But if I look back, I think there was always a creative side to me.
Yeah.
And it's just that it wasn't really nurtured or developed, and it took a bit of time for that to come out, which I guess is natural. Like, when you're in high school, how do you really know? You're so young. Like it takes time, doesn't it? So. Yeah,
it takes time, but also to the next step of then opening your own practice, and you said that was never really on the cards. It was you just wanted to be an architect.
Yes.
First and foremost, and then that just developed into if.
Yes, I don't know if that's maybe a sign of a passive personality, but maybe I've always been, I guess, open to opportunities, and when those, and I'm not saying that I've just waited for opportunities to come my way, but at least knowing when they've presented themselves that it is something important and something worth trying and doing. So sort of rising to the occasion.
Yeah. Rise to the occasion, follow your gut feelings.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then once you commit to trying something, really give it your everything rather than just a half. Maybe that was probably quite difficult in the beginning is, I was fortunate because I did have some space and things like that. But
there's kind of no excuse not to try, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that sometimes is like, I've got to outlay this for a space, and
exactly,
I don't have a project yet. And
exactly, and that's very daunting, and you've got commitments and life, that might change your decision making process.
Yeah,
but it was. Why not in my situation?
Yeah, what's the worst that could happen?
Exactly. Exactly.
So is that something you'd sort of say to younger architects these days who are just starting out and, have a shot?
Yeah.
Do you still feel like it could be done today as easy, well, not as easy as it was, but, take the risk? And
I think so. I think it's important to, I don't know if I'd recommend doing it straight out of uni.
Sure.
I think that's probably a bit risky because I think there's so much value in having that work experience. But definitely if it's something that you feel is there for you, then after a little bit of work experience, go for it. I was registered. I was a registered architect.
Sure.
So, I did have that qualification by then, but it was still relatively early on in my career. It wasn't after 10 years or so. It still was, in
the scheme of things, it's quite early too.
Quite early,
Yeah.
So, and I think within reason, why not try? You have to maybe you start with a small project for a family member, I don't know, kitchen renovation or bathroom or something like that. And then you keep growing and learning as you go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And learning other aspects then of business and
exactly.
managing a team and
Exactly.
Yeah, lots of things to many hats.
And they're all the things that you don't learn at uni.
Sure. Yeah. If architecture believes in the power of architecture to improve everyday life, how do you define that mission personally?
Yeah. Well, they're kind of overlap each other, don't they? I can't really separate who I am and my life from my work life. It's all kind of the same, I guess.
Comes through in your work and
absolutely. And I think so. There's a lot of being open and receptive, having a strong conviction and ideas, but also willing to listen to other people. I think listening is a big part of that, and always being willing to learn and to learn new things about people.
Yeah.
And so I think then in my work life and the projects, and then in my home kind of personal life, who I am is the same person. So I don't change.
Yeah. Yeah. It comes through and, people, and that's, people who've been dealing with you and, want to work on the next project with you because you're just being honest with the design and yourself, and it just comes through, right?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I try to be honest with myself, and sometimes that's hard in your work life. You have to manage people's expectations and their ideas, and sometimes even if you don't potentially agree with them, you sort of maybe take a more measured approach in how you express that.
Yeah.
But a diplomatic approach is maybe the right thing to say. You've got to weigh it all up.
Sure.
But have integrity, work with integrity, be honest. I think those values are really important.
Yeah.
Personally and professionally.
Absolutely. Your studio spans through homes, workplaces, hospitality and retail. How do you maintain such a coherent design identity across such a wide range of types of projects?
Yeah, good question. I think that if anything, it's maybe the process. So I think the outcomes can be polar opposites.
Yeah.
But then the process in achieving those outcomes is the foundation to every single one of those projects. So we might be working with a family on a residential project or a hospitality client, but how we work through solving the problems, getting the brief, working on the functionality, coming up with an idea or a concept, the way we do that each time is the same. It's just that the function is different, the family is different, the concept is different. And so what they look like at the end is different.
Should be different. Yeah. With a bit of flavour of...
We are who we are. There's going to be certain, like a ribbon that is going to tie them all together.
Yeah,
because
nice. Yeah.
there's certain details we like or think work better than other things, and so you use them or to keep developing them or growing on them because you keep testing those ideas. But probably what might not appear obvious to patrons that are going to, say, a hospitality venue, or seeing photographs of one of our residential projects, it might not appear obvious on the surface, but underlying those processes and systems are consistent. And I think that's what helps us get good end results. I hope that everyone thinks that they're good end results.
Well, yeah, I'd say. Out of those types of projects, what's your favourite to work on?
Oh, it depends on the day. When it comes and goes. When we're working on a few hospitality projects at a time, then I miss the residential projects.
Sure.
Because I miss the time in residential projects. There's a more time. You get to know the family and the clients a bit more because it's a much longer process because of planning and things like that.
It's a personal project as well, right?
Exactly. And so then, hospitality, retail, commercial projects are generally a lot faster. And so, when we're working on those projects, I like the residential projects. And then when we're working on residential projects and it's, a year down or 2 years down, then I'm like, oh, it'd be so great to do something that's quick and then see the outcome and be able to enjoy it quite quickly.
That's the reward, right? It's seeing the finished product, whether it's the retail clients moved in and they're trading, or you go and visit the home that you've built and the family's happy, they're moved in, and that's,
Exactly. Yeah, that's always the icing on the cake.
Sure.
Really. Yeah. Is seeing the result of years of work or time and effort, is seeing people occupy the space.
Yes. You often speak about curiosity and the wonder in design. How do you keep that alive after 16 years of if it's obvious? So how do you do that?
Practice. Practice in terms of making sure that you don't become stale or too stuck in your ideas, which I think can happen just after working for so many years. But so things like travel or reading or looking at other projects, listening to podcasts or watching YouTube videos of people's projects. Like, I think just exposing yourself to as many different types of art or creativity or whatever, however that might appear. Doesn't have to be just design.
Sure.
It could happen in lots of different things. But I think just that willingness to expose yourself to lots of different things keeps it, sparks off ideas and keeps it fresh. I think sometimes when I haven't, I've just been head down really in the trenches, then you get a bit tired, and you need something to sort of spark again in your imagination, and you have to keep looking for those things to keep it fresh.
Yep, that's great. That's really good. Dream project? Is there a dream project, and it might be international by the sounds of it, but is there something that you really love to do you haven't done yet?
Yeah, lots of things. I think this is a very popular one at the moment as well. Everyone says a hotel, but a hotel would be really amazing. A boutique hotel I think would be great, because for us that kind of covers those typologies. There's sort of the hospitality, retail component in a lot of new sort of hotel experiences, plus the sort of quasi-residential, with the hotel room and those sort of functions. I think that would be really, good way of stretching our design muscles.
Yeah, gosh. I saw your face light up when you said that. I think that'd be wonderful. So if anyone's listening that needs it.
Exactly. But really, even just the exposure to more hospitality with different people, or more retail with different people, more residential with different families, even the whole sort of at the moment. And we actually did that for ourselves personally, the sort of multi-generational living. I think that's really interesting, where you've got maybe 3 generations under one roof. Would be really great to test. And
Good.
Open to anything, really.
Good. No, that's good. So every project starts with client objectives. How do you draw out what might be unspoken or aspirational in a brief?
Yeah, that's been a learning process. I think maybe earlier, a few years ago, we had a lot less sort of stringent process, and we would meet the clients and have like a lovely conversation, and maybe it was a bit more informal. And then we learned along the way that maybe that was too informal. And so we've really made the process very formal and have now a really detailed brief document for those different types of projects.
Yeah.
And we don't expect the clients to be able to complete the brief. They might not even know the answer to some of the questions we're asking, but the idea is to provoke conversation and ideas, and it's captured in some way. Because we had a few sort of, I guess, tense experiences where we would have these informal conversations, not really taking as much information as we needed, and then presenting a concept and seeing the concept it triggered for the client, like operational issues or functional or even discussions between themselves, which were like, oh, I don't like that.
Sure.
And so it led to a lot of refining of the concept at a point where it probably wasn't conducive to then the financial part of, so we realised we really needed to ask a lot more questions and be more detailed earlier on. And then when we would present the concept, there'd be a lot less room, a lot less element of surprise, because a lot of those things had already been discussed. And even if they, like I said, if the clients were unsure, the concept then became the test and it became a discussion point, but it wasn't a surprise.
Yeah. We've spoken about this.
Exactly.
In detail.
Here's the test, and you can decide from here. So I think that has really helped a lot. That's been one of the really good learnings of just having experience.
Yeah.
And now we also, it sets a tone as well for each relationship. There's more formality. It's documented. It gives the client something to go back to and refer to and say, oh, yes, that's what we said. That's what we agreed upon. So
there's a lot of emotions involved, and,
exactly.
it's there's a million things that need to be checked or questions. And
exactly. And a lot of people have never been through the process before.
Sure.
So it can be quite daunting, and especially if that's not your chosen career or field, you don't know the process. You don't realise the thousands of decisions that need to be made. You potentially don't even realise that you had an opinion, about certain things until they're actually presented to you.
Yeah.
So at least this way, it's a bit of a catch-all, catch as much as we can early on.
Yeah.
Before we've developed things too far and might be going down a wrong path.
How long does that first brief take, or that first conversation? What can people expect if they've never done this before? And you're coming in, it might be a residential project. How does that start?
Yeah, often with an email or an introduction through someone, and then a phone call, just to sort of meet and greet.
Yeah.
Then often either a visit in the office or a site visit. A lot of the time that's because the clients often don't really know where to start and what's possible or feasible.
Yeah.
Following that, then generally like a meeting in the office, we would have, fees would have been agreed and everything like that. We would have sent our questionnaire. We would have said to the clients, complete as much of the questionnaire as you can, but we'll workshop it together in the office. And then we go through each of the questions. It allows discussion. It allows, agreement, disagreement, a pathway. So depending, like from initial introduction to questionnaire, workshopping in the office, that could be a month, it could be longer, depends on people's commitments.
Sure, yeah.
Or for some of the commercial projects, it could just be a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
There's a lot more urgency.
And also a lot, it's not as personal. So it's like you can make very quick decisions. It's a public space or it's,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, the operator might already have the brand.
Yeah. Okay.
They might already be working with an agency. They've already got that. They already know the menu or have a rough idea for menu plan. They already have a business plan. So there's a lot more that they know. And so then they can come to you and say, here's all the documentation that I already have, and so it's sort of speeding up the process.
Yeah. Good. I think it's important. I don't think a lot of people know what's involved right at that early stage and might be hesitant to even reach out.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Like, again, like if it's not what you're involved, it's not your industry or, it can be quite different to a lot of other industries. And I think people are unsure of what they're getting themselves into. And sometimes, like most things, like there's the uncertainty around that of what that might be.
Yeah.
A lot of it really is, especially for residential, is really listening and trying to tease out what the actual requirements are. I think a lot of clients are sort of seduced by a visual aesthetic at the end, and they come to you with, these are the things that I like, which is great. It's good to have an opinion about and an idea about what you like. But sometimes they're not quite sure how to execute that. Then
how it all ties together.
Yeah. They might say, we need more space, but they don't know what more space looks like. Is it more space because your kids have friends around every weekend, but in that, do you all want to be sitting in the same room together, or do you actually need them to have a separate living space because you're happy for them to be there, but you don't want to be with them? Teasing out those sort of individual likes and dislikes. And people, they need to be asked those questions, and they need to be prompted to give you those responses.
They don't know that they need that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They might just say, we need to extend our house. But what does that actually look like? You know, do you need visual separation, acoustic separation or not? Or, so a lot of talking and discussing around those things before we sort of start drawing anything really.
Yeah. Are you surprised sometimes when, I'm going to slip in lighting now, but lighting conversation comes into it? People, if they're not from this world, are used to a certain type of lighting or, just what we've had for the last 30 years. And then you have a different approach and you to lighting design and placement. It's very different to what people sometimes used to.
Yeah, people are actually used to, in a lot of circumstances, something that's actually really average.
Yeah.
they might be in an older home or a new build where that hasn't been a consideration at all. And so what they think is appropriate or good wouldn't be your version of good, James.
Thank you.
Or my version of good, And they don't realise that it can actually be a lot better. Fair enough. You know what you know, and it's good that they want to work with professionals to achieve a better result. But lighting especially is one where people put up with a lot of very agricultural solutions. Which is our jobs to make it better.
We've got to educate people on we love if you're doing a project and you're doing the design, amazing. But then when you bring the client in and they can experience and you can show them why these decisions have been made, it's a world of difference. And it's you can see visually them change in front of you and say, oh, I get it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's actually a lovely moment.
It is.
To sort of see the light bulb.
Sure.
The light bulb moment and see clients go, oh, I've realised now why this is better. It's all those small things actually that go to making an experience that often is it's not for one element. It's like a series of elements that all come together in like perfect sort of harmony, and that's what makes a space lovely. Or people have certain emotion in a space. It's not for just one.
That's right.
Element. It's a lot of elements coming together.
Yeah, and you can change it very quickly by a few different switches and dimming and all sorts of stuff.
Exactly.
You can transform a space completely.
Exactly.
And people really respond to that when we sort of just take them down that path to show them why that's important.
Yeah, we've really moved away from even our own probably quite old ideas, actually, about lighting.
Yeah.
And now actually in me and my husband and I bought a 60s house, and it had no ceiling fittings. Everything was, they were old fluoro tubes in pelmets.
Yeah, great.
And then we actually, that's all gone, and we put LED strip in pelmets and things like that.
Yeah.
But living with that, it's so lovely. I have very, very little. I tried to be faithful to the original architecture. So there's a couple of lovely pendants and there's some wall lights, but tried to keep it more like the original architect intended. And it's beautiful. It's really, really lovely. It challenged my own thoughts about lighting and lighting spaces, and pleasantly surprised.
Good. Can you talk about a project where the process revealed something surprising about the site, or something popped up and you're like, oh, this is great, a nice surprise?
Probably the easy ones are those sort of hospitality or retail projects that are in older buildings, or even residential projects actually that are in older buildings where things have been hidden for 50 years, and through the process of starting work and layers are stripped back, that then you discover a beautiful old tile or floor or original drawings, construction, like little pencil things behind old plaster or things like that, things that might end up being entombed again, but just little moments that are sort of expose or kind of peel back a bit of what was there or the past. which are really lovely. So definitely that happens a lot in some of these commercial projects, especially when there's been multiple venues.
Yeah.
And it's often just layers on top of layers on top of layers. So there's usually something
hidden there.
Finding Roman ruins.
How do you approach these layers of function and emotion and all of that in a project? Is it something you consciously, have a plan and map it out? Is it part of the process?
Part of the process, depending on the project. So if there's, like with the retail or hospitality projects, if there's already an established brand, then you're working with the DNA of that brand. So that's probably, the base, bringing that DNA into the environment, but also then looking at the context of the street, the city, the space, or the tenancy itself. And so thinking of it sort of micro and then zooming out a bit more and a bit more and a bit more, and then looking for opportunities to bring those elements together with the brand DNA or what the aspirations are for that project. So that can vary because some of the retail brands are very strict.
Yeah, okay.
And so there's not a lot of opportunity to bring external factors into the space because they've got a very tight kind of style guide or things like that. And it's more about bringing the customer into their world. In other projects, it can be a lot more fluid, and you can really then, it's a real combination between the brand and the location, or whether it be in Melbourne or in Sydney, or whether it be more rural or urban or things like that. It really depends on the in those commercial. It really depends on the brand itself and how sort of tight or the guidelines and the rules are around the brand. Okay. In residential projects, it's the core, I guess, is the family or the clients themselves. But then how often there's a whole bunch of things that they want to explore in terms of their own living environment as well. So you get to explore what they're looking to achieve, but in the context of the site, and then again the street and the environment, whether they be in a really leafy kind of area or whether they're in an urban sort of area, and the site constraints. And so it's a bit of a massage between all of those things. And often it's a tic-tac-toe. You start with function, you get to, you make a few steps there, then you start to think about how the concept works, then you peel one back, forward. It's not very linear.
Sure. Yeah.
It can be quite a kind of spaghetti of bringing it all together sometimes. But, a little bit here, a little bit there, you keep adjusting, and then you get to a point where you think, now I need their input. We've gone so far. We really need that's as far as we can go. We need them to review, have a look, get their thoughts. So
as you go through that process and you get to that point where you're presenting, is the client often surprised with then budget? And you could talk budget at the start, but I feel like if you go down this and I love this, I love that, and they're not realising that it's doing this with budget.
Budget's always really difficult. I think that everyone has aspiration that is more than the budget normally. I think that's just human nature.
Yeah.
Why limit yourselves? So it's always a bit tender, important conversation to keep bringing up. I think that it helps avoid disappointment later on because the clients do trust you, and so it would be remiss of us to keep designing, keep doing based on all of their aspiration, but not telling them that their aspiration doesn't align with their budget.
Yeah.
I think that's always really tense, and
so it's a hard conversation, isn't it, as well?
It's very hard.
You know,
and it's avoidable because often then, you could work so far and then the project is not even feasible anymore, and that would be a terrible outcome.
Yeah.
Ideally, everyone wants to get their project built. So really important to have the budget conversations alongside the process, and whether that be getting a QS along the way or working with a contractor and getting some budgets, or even doing some high level square meter rates, just so that there is the reality, because there's always a reality, alongside all the beautiful hopes and dreams and everything like that.
Sure. Yeah. Good. So if architecture works thoughtfully across, hospitality, retail, residential, is there a type of project that you feel really crystallises your practice approach?
It's probably the most obvious in the commercial sort of projects, because they're the ones that you really get to express the creativity. Building residential can be difficult in that there's so many constraints. A lot of our projects are in the inner city. They're on tight parcels of land. They have very tight planning constraints, and the client's brief is to maximise the space. So architecturally, you're building to the millimetre of what you can build on the site to meet the client's brief on maybe 180 square metres of land or something like that. There's more opportunity, I think, in residential where you've got a bit more open space to experiment. So, that can be, residential can be really constrained. Whereas the commercial projects, they're narrative-wise, you can be a lot more expressive. They're about, it might be, like in some of our projects, it can be more about, the kind of fun elements of the brand that you're trying to connect with patrons and things that then can exist in a hospitality or commercial environment, because they're not that they're temporary is not the right word, but they're not people's sort of home environment. Like
totally.
You can't do recycled aluminium panels maybe in someone's home, but you can in a bakery.
Yeah, and one person might not love it, but
exactly.
the next 10 that come in will love it. So there's always going to be somebody that it resonates with, and versus home is, you're really concentrating on 3 or 4 people who might be using that space. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Good. In the retail work like Jardin, you've successfully had a long relationship with Jardin. How do you balance the brand identity with the spatial experience?
So Jardin has a beautiful brand. Like, the whole, one of the key sort of elements is the Australianness of the brand, and that's what makes it unique, is the sort of very core sort of Australian lifestyle, whether it be city or rural or coastal, but really sort of expressive, the idea of the Australian lifestyle. And so bringing that into different part of the rationale or the design sort of concept for each of the cities as we've done them, and say Byron, is bringing a little bit of the place into each of the showrooms. So that's been a beautiful way of connecting the Australianness with each of, with Melbourne or with Perth or with Brisbane or with Byron, and knowing that, in each of those different places, there's different climate, different way of living, different colours and fabrics that people naturally lean towards. So bringing in sort of the knowledge from Jardin and knowing their product, and then having that information and then bringing it into the spaces, and then finding, like in Perth, finding like a lovely sort of narrative that relates to Western Australia and bringing that into the space to connect it to Western Australia, but also bringing, because Jardin's a very Melbourne brand, bringing the elements of Melbourne to Perth and to WA as well.
Mm-hmm. And when you're doing a design for like a food and hospitality, does the same thing happen? You're sort of looking at the culinary narrative of what they're doing. You have to sort of bring that element as well.
Yes, yeah. Definitely. In those environments, that's the client's creativity.
Sure.
Their expression is in the food offer, and so it's really important then to keep that in mind, like how they want the food to be presented, how they want the food to be consumed, then goes to even little practical things like table sizes and arrangements and square versus round versus rectangle, being well aware of how that, because that's also an element of the space, really. Mm-hmm. It's not something that you photograph, but it is, in terms of the fundamental experience of the venue, that's why, one of the biggest reasons why people are going to a venue is the food offer. You want to see your friends or family and socialise, and the space is important, but then what you're there for is to have a lovely meal together or catch up, and so it's a huge part of the space.
Yeah. Is there something that material-wise that you always use or insist on using that you just know adds that, that extra layer that you kind of tend to use on most projects? Is there a tip you can give?
We end up maybe fundamentally it's actually ends up being a mix of things. Mm-hmm. I think having the variation in different tactile qualities is always really beautiful in a commercial space. So you might have visually beautiful stones or things like that are they're gorgeous to kind of look at, but as you're sitting down at a table, or what you're touching and feeling is something then that might be soft or has a different texture. So maybe that's probably more the thing, is like the core or kind of foundation is to provide lots of different tactile experiences that then the patron can touch and feel, and they get not all of what they feel and interact with is the same, that there's variation. So one time you might sit at a beautiful stone table with a leather banquette. The next time you might sit at a timber table with an upholstered
Sure. Yeah.
That so each time that they go to the space, there's something new or
Feels different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like always sort of elements of curiosity and surprise.
Yeah. You've shared some books in previous interviews and things, some of your favourites. Are these the things that you are doing to we talked about earlier, keeping fresh and, on top of ideas? Are there some favourites that you can just mention now that you might like to share with the listeners?
Yeah. And exactly. Like there's books that sit next to me on my desk that when I think, I just need some inspiration, that I keep flicking back through. And I think in one of those, in that list is Alvar Aalto, who I really admire, who touched lighting actually, who has some iconic vase designs and glass designs. Him and his wife are prolific designers, and their ability to work across all sorts of scale I find really inspiring. Alvar Aalto has door handles, has beautiful institutional civic buildings, but it has lighting. Like I really admire that and the ability to approach design holistically across every touch point. So they're big inspirations. And then another book that's actually not on that list, but I have next to my desk in the office there's a Corbusier. He came up with a system of colour and developed all these different colour palettes, and it's a beautiful book of basically just colour, and you have a little viewfinder which you can slide over the swatches, and I always find that quite interesting, just as a little experiment, putting at the viewfinder of the colours and thinking, oh, actually those colours, I would have never thought to put them together.
Sure.
That
sounds amazing. Yeah.
But they work. Things like that. Even to test myself, to not sort of get stuck in only, the same sort of thinking on ideology, but looking at different things and trying to see things from a new point of view, which it's always really good. It's been very, very fruitful.
Good. Well, I might put a link to those in the comments.
Oh, yeah.
I think they do that on
absolutely.
podcasts. We'll put some links to those.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah, good. Do you obviously you have them on your desk at work, and so you obviously encourage the team to tap into these books and share that love and knowledge and things as well. I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love even, being involved in the industry, going to showrooms, seeing different products, meeting different people, going to events. I think all of those things are so important to your design vocabulary and knowledge. And I think the more you get out of the office in that way, is you can only be good. It can only be healthy and expand your ideas and your knowledge.
Yeah, that's such good. I mean, we love it when we get visitors here because it's constantly changing, and it's hard for us to bring every sample and sort of show you samples. So seeing it installed, and whether it's lighting or carpet or furniture, it's so important to see in a different space. And,
absolutely. Yeah. I would encourage everyone to come out more, and especially knowing, when we've come here to visit you, just being able to see what, rather than see a fitting on a website, to actually see it installed, see the effect of the light has made a huge difference. And even coming and seeing things that we didn't expect to see, but thinking, oh, well, that will be good to remember that for another project. I've learnt it's just incredible that what you can gain in a 1 hour visit versus even you coming to the
Sure.
office, James, with like 3 fittings.
Yeah.
It's not the same at all as spending the same amount of time coming in here to the showroom and seeing everything. For my own knowledge, it's been huge.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Oh,
Yeah. Really good to hear that. Your work often reflects context, place, and community. How do you balance the interpretation of history with the fresh approach?
Yeah, that's also a really good question. It's a challenge. Like, I think you've got to manage lots of different elements of a project, and then I think sometimes maybe what we would do is maybe doesn't meet the client's expectations and things like that. So you do it is a balancing game of bringing those things in, but I think that all of those things contribute to making a space more authentic and having more integrity. So I think that it's quite important. Sometimes clients, we want to keep in parts of the history of a building or project, and the clients are like, oh, I don't like that. But our approach would be, but it's here and it's a part of the fabric of the building, and would be a shame to demolish that to put something else down when we can, for instance, like, you might have an existing floor surface that aesthetically the client doesn't really like, but where our approach would be, why don't we work with this and make it part of our story, when all we'd be doing is actually ripping it up to put something else down.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's what you need. But sometimes there's opportunities, and why not try to work with those opportunities if they're there?
Yeah, and if you can get that message across and the client listens, the reward is like, they probably won't see it straight away. It's sort of hard to get that message across. It's going to be amazing. They've got to trust you, right? They've got to.
That's right.
Really give in and say, okay, we'll go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe a little bit reluctantly, but then at the end, they're going to be happy.
You hope so.
Well, you'd hope so. Yeah, good.
You hope so, yes.
How do you think if architecture's work contributes to the culture fabric of Melbourne?
I hope it does, especially for the places that the community people get to interact with. I think we hope that our projects have legs, in that they have a longevity, and that they're sustainable for, especially the commercial projects are sustainable for the clients, that they get to stay around for a while, and that they're good businesses and contribute to, in that way to the streetscape or to the broader suburb or wherever they might be. So you go into everything with the best intentions. Sometimes it is like an alchemy, things being really successful versus being maybe what's considered not as successful, or for whatever reasons, the business might not work or whatever. But we go into everything with the intention that it will be there for a long period of time. So there's the consideration of what the materials are, what you retain, all of those ingredients.
Come together and make sure that you're doing the best for the client. And
exactly. And the same with the residential projects. Like you want those, those projects. You hope that they meet the requirements of the next family and the next family, and that they have substance, and that it's not going to just be something that is demolished after that family. You know, that would be such a shame, all the
shame.
time
Yeah,
and
yeah.
effort and resources and everything like that. So, you know, I think you can really only try your absolute best within the framework that you have. But we definitely go into everything with that sense of, and I think generally people do, you know, with purpose, with intention. Everyone wants a good end result.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't work out that way, unfortunately, but at least we know that we have done everything that we can.
Sure. Good.
I think that's all you can really do, isn't it? Like, you know, some things are outside of your control.
Yeah.
But and then you just take those experiences to the next project, to the next project, to the next project.
Yeah.
You can only keep learning, can't you?
Keep learning, and we learn from also mistakes. And
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It was a good intention, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
To be honest, it was probably not right, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, unfortunately that's how things turn out sometimes.
Yeah.
But you've got to keep moving forward.
Yeah. What's next for If Architecture? Is there something you're excited about that you want to start getting the rules, or the next thing, or is there
always?
Yeah,
always. We're always experimenting
Yeah.
and learning and trying to test different ideas, spatially, conceptually, materiality. As much, we really are always trying to push as much as we can. I think that's what drives us as well to keep going forward. Working with people, great people, allows you the movement and the flexibility to do that. So we're very fortunate in that way. And, every project that you're working on is like your favourite at the time.
Sure. Yeah.
So the one that you're like, this is so exciting. And then, if you in the creative industry,
fun stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so, good year. Like, we're at the beginning of the year, lots of exciting stuff happening in the year ahead, and hopefully into the future.
Yeah. And do you still have hands-on in every single project you work on? Is that because that can escape you running the business? And
that's actually one of the hardest things about the actual business side. I'm not so on the tools, if so to speak, but in terms of conceptually working with the team, yes, still.
Sure.
There's not one project that I don't know what's happening.
Good. Yeah.
But it's just more the actual physical ability to be there, drawing things and doing things. That's gotten a little bit harder to be involved in that way, but definitely on the day-to-day of the project, the bigger picture of the project and understanding what's going on. That would, if I lost that, I think that would be really difficult for me.
Yeah,
that would be.
That's why I started, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't do business, and so if that became less and less and less, I think I'd be really questioning what I was doing.
Become a job then, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And yeah.
Yeah. No, totally understand. What's your biggest lesson in running your own practice, and what has it taught you about creative leadership?
I think organisation and information have been imperative to running a better business, or being the best leader I can be. And so I've made, with a couple of hard learning experiences, I've made a real effort to keep my education up on all of those business, HR, and when I can't do it, getting the right people to help, acknowledging that I can't do everything and that's not my skill set, and getting people to help with that, like, and realizing that I'm how I have been in my past life, working for other practices is not how my team are, that we're all different and everybody has different things that motivate them, and that I have to be open and willing to hear other people out and realize that we're just different. And I think that's been, as soon as I've let go of maybe having more rigid ideas, that's been a lot better, and getting the right help, along the way, and investing in that. I think as a smaller business or a younger business, I think you can think, oh, I don't have the budget for that, or, I could do it myself. But really, maybe the focus, you should focus on what is your skill set, and let other people help you with their skill set. And that's actually a really good investment, rather than thinking, we don't have lots of cash flow and I shouldn't be spending it on these things, but actually it's worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Because my next question was, what advice would you go back and tell, Eva 16 years ago?
Yeah.
Is that something that one of the first things you'd probably say?
Yeah, I think that my ideas at the time were that I, coming from that place of, I can't afford that, and being, again, I didn't have a business background, and therefore thinking that I could try and do everything, but realising that approach was probably holding me back in a way. That, me doing things and taking 5 hours, or someone else, a bookkeeper, doing something in 2 hours is a lot better use of time than what it was costing me to get that bookkeeper or whatever it was. So, but at the time you're sort of trying to hold on to everything, and of course. Whereas I think to anyone starting a practice tomorrow or thinking about it, I think it's be open to getting people to help you, and recognising where your best skills are, and using and doing that, and letting other people help you get to where you need to.
Yeah, good advice. This is your final question.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, what feeling do you most want somebody to have when they step into a space that you've created?
Actually, I was listening to a podcast, and I can't tell you. It was about hospitality and things like that, but what stayed with me was that the interviewee said that they love when they walk out of a venue and they've had a really good night or whatever it is, and they can't tell you exactly what it is that made it so good, but they just know that it was really, really good, and they want to go back. And I thought, yes, I love that. I think that's awesome. Yeah, really good. Just that people have had a really beautiful time. They've enjoyed it. It's not maybe the space that it's been the big hero, and it's all of kind of like, again, the alchemy. Like it's all of these things that come together, and they've had a really beautiful time, and they just know that they want to go back. I think if that's the feeling that people have after being in a venue that we've been lucky enough to be a part of, that I'd be really rapt. I think, make me really happy.
Good answer. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, James.
Well, Eva, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
I look forward to watching this back and listening, and because I'll get a little bit distracted here, but no, thank you so much for giving me your time, and we'll continue to enjoy working with you as well.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you, James, and doing this and all of the beautiful products Est have.
Thank you.
Working with us, it's really lovely relationship.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eva.